Good evening, fellow Kerbernauts. This is Ker25. Tonight I'm going to do a spotlight on HydroTech RCS by Michael Kim. If you go to KerbalSpaceProgram.com, check them out on the forums, download the mod. I think you will enjoy it. First, we're going to take a look at our overall vehicle design. I have a relatively small vehicle here, serves as an upper stage, and I have a docking target and a docking camera. The flight computer here for HydroTech RCS controls my RCS subsystem to rendezvous two vehicles. Now it's important that you have your center of mass correct and your thrust correct, otherwise the system will have a very difficult time controlling the vehicle. The docking targets are located in the utility menu, and the docking camera is also located there. It's very important to realize that they want to line up in this direction. It doesn't seem to be aware that the docking port exists at all. All it wants to do is move this towards this when you initiate the rendezvous. The computer does all that work, and it comes in various sizes. It's located in the control menu, and I like using the tank-shaped computers just because they look better, despite the fact that this weighs hardly a thing. Should I say masses? Little. These are the various tanks, sized components, as you can see. And they have a very nice color to them, and I really like this mod, particularly for that reason, that their parts are quite distinguishable from the rest. Anyway, let's assemble this vehicle, take it to orbit, and demonstrate docking. By the way, the vehicle is a Delta configuration. These external tanks cross-feed into the center tank. All three engines fire at the same time, and these drop when they are empty. Let's go. Who's on this mission? None other than Jebediah Kerman. So for the start of the launch, I'm going to try to use the main throttle control to try to throttle the rocket down to 90% through max Q. I'm going to set the throttle to 100 and start my launch. And I've already throttled down through time warp here. As you can see, I'm just doing a voiceover. I'm not going to make you go through the process of going to orbit and rendezvous, but I am doing eyeball burns to get within 100 meters of the target ship. It takes me a moment here, and I have almost rendezvoused. I do some slight adjustments, some more adjustments, and pretty soon I am within 100 meters of my ship. Well, now I'm within 100 meters of my ship. Slow down here. I'm going to set up the HydroTech RCS docking cameras to help me align the two craft. I go to the docking assistant. I choose the target for the source camera on my Jebediah vehicle, and then I set the target cameras and docking target on the HydroTech RCS Dock 1 target vehicle. First I select the vehicle, then I select its docking target. Now as you can see, it's red. This means that I'm not actually within operational distance. I can't do anything, really. I have to get closer to the vehicle to make it engage. So I'm just going to wait here until my distance gets less than 100 meters. About 99.1 meters is when it actually works. And I'm going to thrust a little bit to the vehicle, I think. I'm not going to worry about decreasing my thrust because the docking system will actually kill my relative velocity. So at about 99.2 meters, I'm able to use the system. I'm going to go into manual docking mode, turn on the guidance line, kill relative velocity, and hit OK. Now, it's not actually engaged yet. It does draw the line, but it doesn't actually engage the velocity reducing function. When I hit engage, you'll notice that my target velocity starts decreasing very slowly in order to go to 0. This is an excellent feature of the mod. I really like this part. and slowly counts down to 0. Now what do we do next? I'm going to go back into the manual docking mode. I'm going to turn on automatic orientation. This is nice to get the two vehicles to line up perfectly. As you can see, the target vehicle is actually pointed down towards Kerbin, so my vehicle is going to point somewhat away from Kerbin. It's not actually pointing at the target vehicle itself. And after a few RCS moves that you can't see, because the RCS is actually operating at, I think, 10% of its full capacity, you'd have to zoom in very close to see the actual RCS thrusters in operation. But my relative velocity has been killed. I'm oriented with the vehicle. And if I wanted to manually dock, I would have to back up and approach the vehicle from the bottom. But first we're going to demonstrate automatic docking. So after seeing that my relative velocity is slowly, well, actually I'm using RCS at this point to translate the vehicle backwards. And if I continued so, I could get underneath the vehicle and dock to it from the bottom. But let's actually demonstrate the automatic docking features. And then we'll do manual docking next. So I click automatic docking, and I notice that my rotation thrust and translation thrust rates are actually 0.05 and not 0.1, which makes it 5%, I think. I'm going to tell it to rotate the target vehicle, and you can see it rotating to point at my source vehicle right now. And once it's fully rotated, then the source vehicle will rotate towards the target vehicle. And it'll do so in just a moment. And here it begins. You can see my relative velocity is 0. And as soon as they're pointing, I will turn the camera on so you can see what it looks like from the camera's point of view. I'm going to leave my translation rate thrust and my rotation thrust rate alone. In a very large system, you might want to set this up so you can approach huge structures very slowly, so you don't have a lot of wobble back and forth. Actually, I'm going to actually increase my translation thrust rate to 15%, just to make it go a little bit faster. Really, this is the point where you could go get a cup of coffee, you'll come back and your vehicles will be docked. But I'm not going to do that. I'm actually going to use physical time warp by hitting Alt, period, Alt, comma to select between the different modes. And you can see me approaching the vehicle at a lot faster rate. My translation thrust rate has been set down to 5%. And right before I actually dock with the vehicle, I'll turn my time warp down so you can see the 0.4 meters a second approach rate. And this is the magical part. It just docks. Now, one thing I do like to do is actually turn off all the docking cameras and disengage the docking system, because the vehicles kind of behave a little weird. They're actually stabilizing here on RCS, and it's kind of hard to control the RCS toggle and the SAS toggle with the cameras on. So I clear them, and basically the docking assistant is no longer applied. And so we have a nice little celebration. We circle around, we separate, and I'm going to set up a little demonstration of manual docking. Of course, Jebediah is always happy. Look at him smiling. Bill in the target vehicle is over there, wandering slowly away. I'm going to reset my cameras. First turn on the docking target camera. Actually the docking source camera, and then the docking target. Now there's still a slight rotation in Bill's vehicle, and I kind of goof around here for a couple minutes while I have them manually orienting. The source vehicle is manually orienting with the target vehicle, and they just rotate together in concert. Not very conducive to docking at this point. I'm going to actually speed up the video, spare you a couple minutes of this. Here I click kill relative velocity, but I forgot to click apply initially. And it doesn't seem to kill it very well when both vehicles are rotating like this. I'm not sure if it's actually a problem with the state engine in the mod or my error in not stabilizing the target vehicle. I time warp a little bit, physical time warp, and they rotate in a ballet. And I can't quite figure out what's going on, so I kind of waste a few minutes here spinning around in circles. Finally, I decide to kill the rotation on Bill's vehicle by using the SAS. And then I go back to the target vehicle, the source vehicle, and get ready to do a manual docking maneuver. Right now I'm actually using RCS in the wrong manner. I forgot which direction the top of the vehicle is, so every direction I thrust in, I keep going the wrong way. So I actually am going to fast forward this as well. Once I figure it out, and I determine the top of the vehicle is the top of the vehicle, I decided to increase my translation thrust rate so that the vehicle can move a lot faster. And now you can see that I am actually translating downwards to get in front of the vehicle so I can actually dock with it. The nice thing about kill relative velocity is as soon as I take my fingers off the RCS controls, the vehicle stops in relation to the target. So if you find yourself drifting too much, you just take your hands off the keyboard and everything will stop. Now at this point, it's probably a good idea to turn on the camera view, just so you can see the target line up properly, because this is a notoriously difficult part in docking in Kerbal Space Program. It's trying to eyeball three-dimensional contact. You can see with the camera view, it makes it so much easier to see where you are in relation to the vehicle. The vehicle is oriented with the target. Relative velocity is automatically killed when you take your hands off the controls. And I probably don't need this guidance line, so I turn it off. And I can't really see the target very well because of the shadows, so I can actually zoom the camera in to get a better look at that target. I'll do that here in a moment. And that's quite a good view of that docking target. And since I'm close to the vehicle, I'm actually going to turn my translation thrust rate down to 5%. It's probably not needed. I could probably have it at 100% and just tap the RCS controls like I do normally. But this just lets me hold the key down and move. I'm going to try turning off relative velocity just to demonstrate what happens if you tap RCS and you let go. The vehicle will just drift. I seem to have a problem here with it re-engaging, so I kind of cancel and go back to the main menu. And that fixes it. Now, hold down H. This docking is probably the most precise docking you could ever do. If your vehicles are very huge and unwieldy, this manual docking mode is probably the best choice. If you don't have your percentages balanced on your RCS translation thrust rate or your rotation thrust rate. But that's manual docking complete. And we do a celebration spin. Bill Kerman, of course, panics, and Jebediah is smiling. As you can see now, I have the cameras cleared, and I can turn off the HydroTech Docking Assistant menu. And I'm going to just play around with the translation a little bit, just to show you what this does. But I have it all sped up, so you really don't get to see any of it. The precise control menu allows you to adjust your RCS thrusters when not in docking mode, so you can actually set them to 10% or 100% of their regular rate. And no mission is complete without deorbiting and getting rid of your space debris and landing your Kerbal safely at home. So thank you for watching, and I hope this tutorial helped you on how to use RCS HydroTech.